It's really incredible to have people living in all parts of the world reach out to me, and I'll meet them over Zoom and get to know them and engage in a paperwork process with them. And each time an international person arrives, to me it's like a small miracle. It's always so amazing that, wow, you know, it might be 9 months later and here's this person that I met so briefly over Zoom and shared a connection with, and they're here, and it's wonderful. And it's so appreciated where we are. Inverness County is a small rural county. It's limited in its population, and we support lots of people who need care all of the time. So we need enough assistance, so that's enough employees here to support the core members. And we are limited in our county alone, and so having the opportunity to welcome people internationally has been really great. And we've met wonderful people that way, and wonderful people who have come on to stay in the county, which brings a vibrancy. So that's always very exciting to me. We do have a national recruitment person, and she is sort of managing international recruitment through L'Arche Canada, and she's looking in particular for people who are interested in experiencing L'Arche in Canada, and if there's a need in my community, then I communicate that to her, and she will look to find someone internationally. And what's really interesting is that there are many international people in the Sydney area who have an open work permit, who have nowhere to work and nowhere to live. And what's interesting about our model is we have a live-in model, which means we provide work and meaningful days, but we also provide housing, which is amazing. And it used to be that I would worry about the live-in model because obviously people who already have housing and are living in the area aren't interested in being live-in assistants. But more and more someone is saying to me, oh, I need the housing, I have nowhere to live. So our being able to offer housing as well as meaningful work is actually really advantageous.
My first encounter with L'Arche was in my country, back in Kenya. That was in 2011, and I visited for a week, and I met this lady. Her name is Jen, and she's late now, but she was very nice. She didn't even know me. She took my bags, took them to her room, and she welcomed me and showed me around. She was nonverbal, so it was a very nice gesture. I was going to visit my friend who was there on internship. So after that, I promised myself that I would want to give it a try when I had a chance to. So after high school, I went there for a couple of months as a volunteer. And then I left, trying to figure out life after high school and all that. And then I joined L'Arche officially now as they start with a program called trainees. It's like an internship kind of a program where you serve for like 1 year, and then after 1 year, if you want to stay, you stay. If you don't want to, they allow you to try something else. But then the idea is to help you understand the giftedness of people with intellectual disabilities. And when I joined again in 2016, I didn't want to leave, so I stayed for 2 years, and I got a chance to go visit L'Arche in France. One time I met a guy from L'Arche in UK, and he was like, oh, there's a wonderful community in Canada. So in my head, Canada is like Kenya, so I thought it's a small country and all that. But I write an email, and I get to understand there's so many communities in Canada, and wow. So the lady who is the national HR asked me what kind of community I'm looking for. I was like, yeah, I'm looking for an old community that has been there for more than 20 years, and in a rural setting. I don't want to be in a city because I'm raised in a city, so I'm always running away from cities. And then I also told her I want a place that is warm, and she told me that place doesn't exist in Canada, but there's a place that is rural, and people there are quite warm. And she introduced me to Jen, the assistance coordinator here, and we connected, and yeah. In February of 2023, I arrived here. I was dressed in my usual Kenyan summer clothes. And then the next day around 3, it was the time for me to catch the bus. So I came out of the hotel. And I remember my first reaction was, oh my goodness, and I ran back into the airport, you know. And a friend of mine who was in Antigonish then texted me and told me, I hope you remember to get at least the warmest jacket you have in your closet. I was like, no, I didn't know it was that cold.
First of all, being a live-in model is kind of quite unique, where we're offering them a place to live. So they have a room in a home with other people living in the home who are caring and attentive. They have, you know, internet provided so that they can be in touch with loved ones back home. They have use of community vehicles that they can use if they need to go down to Port Hawkesbury and get their social insurance number and their provincial health card. You know, stuff started, all of those kind of practical details of opening a bank account. I've driven many people up the road to the bank up the road to get their bank account. So, you know, there's that sort of initial just detail-oriented piece where people need to do those little details that they need to do to establish themselves as being able to work and stay in Canada. But also they're a part of a home, and they're also a part of a team. And those are two similar things, but they're not exactly the same. So they're part of a home where they live with their team and they live with core members in that home, the people that they support. But they're also a part of a team. And teams here are really unique. You might have a team that has a Kenyan and a Brazilian and a Canadian and someone from Germany. So that might be the team, which, you know, in and of itself is so interesting, you know, but they're welcomed into a team, and so I think into a team and into a community. So our organization is first and foremost a community of people, and so they when they arrive, they're welcomed into a team and a community that is really interested in welcoming them.
I was received very well by David Gunn, one of the core members here, and Hillary, my first house leader in this community. And the story changed. I didn't feel the cold anymore because I was feeling at home, like, you know, there's a lot of conversations, you know, even though David Gunn is not verbal, he's able to communicate in a very unique way, and I could tell what he was telling me. And, you know, we arrived in the house, showed me around. I found quite welcoming folks there, and yeah, here I am.
It's very hard to know how long it will take for a work permit to be accepted and for a person to arrive. So clearly that is stressful for the new arrival who has made plans and possibly given notice at their old position, are looking to book flights, looking at the cost of flights, and on our end, obviously, we're looking to fill essential positions. Core members need care. So having an unpredictability in the timeline of a person's arrival is challenging. Another detail is that it's hard for new arrivals to find a healthcare practitioner. So like many others in Nova Scotia, it's not always possible to find a healthcare provider, and that can be challenging. If there are delays and someone receives a work permit for less than a year, they're not eligible for provincial health coverage, and that obviously is problematic and frustrating for them, and doesn't help a person to feel safe and secure if they are not provided with the opportunity to have health coverage. And also, we're a rural community, so you can sort of tell someone that it's, you know, an hour to the nearest Starbucks, but when a person arrives, there are lots of people who have arrived and realized, wow, I don't actually want to live on the highway, because that's actually where we live, on a highway with sort of a back road coming off of it, and you know, a very small village, technically within walking distance, but not really. So as much as the rural aspect of our community can be a highlight for many people, it can also be a challenge. And I've certainly had individuals say, this place is not for me due to the rural nature of the community.
On Google, people talk about Cabo Trail and Sydney. So in my mind, I was like, it's like a few minutes drive to Sydney. Every day is, a day you can take a walk on the Cabo Trail, but I realized, it's only in summer and fall. You can do some of these things, and then, so there were quite a lot of things that I was expecting. I didn't expect it to be this rural, but I really appreciate the fact that it is this rural because, for me, the silence is also important, yeah.
So for sure, language barriers exist. So many people come with a higher level of English and some people don't. So certainly language barrier has been an issue. And I guess, culturally, knowing that we're limited here in Cape Breton, it might be that we can't provide them with maybe pieces that they might need to be well within their own cultural context. So certainly I've had individuals say, well, I'd like to move to Halifax because there is a greater population of my own culture who lives in that area, and for me to be well, I want to be a little bit more immersed in a culture that feels familiar to me. So that's happened. Yeah.
So when I arrived in my first house, Corinthian house, I was impressed by one thing that I found. People from different countries, So apart from the core members, everyone else is from a different country. Hillary is from Uganda. There was a lady called Gesner from Azerbaijan and her husband. And then there was a guy called Tiago from Brazil. So it was a good mix. Like I wasn't like immediately submerged into a different culture. I could like today have a meal prepared by someone from Brazil and feel a bit of, different kind of style. Uganda is quite close to Kenya, so not much of a difference with the way meals are prepared. And then Azerbaijan, also they have their way of preparing meals. So that was quite something that I really appreciated in that moment, that I didn't have to feel different. I think that's one of the fears that I had because I think my experience, my first few days in France, I was feeling quite lost. I was feeling, quite conspicuous, I wouldn't hide, like everyone can see there's a different guy, from language to color of my skin, and yeah, a lot of things, right? But then here you could easily, find your spot, because everyone is different and they have their unique way of, being. So you don't have to feel like the different one, So it was a good experience. And so also I think around the first few days, I had someone to take me to the bank, like without me asking, like someone offered and like, you'll need a bank account. So whenever you're ready, I'll drive you to the bank. And then another person was concerned about my driving, so they took me to Port Hawkesbury. And then someone else offered to take me to get my SIN number and do all these registrations and all that. Someone else offered to call 811 with me and have me register for a family doctor. So people were kind of, trying to make me as comfortable as possible. And it was self-initiated. It wasn't like their duty to do it. It's just, to help you settle in. We're going to help you be as comfortable as possible. And also people sharing about, there's a party somewhere in Inverness if you want to go. I go to church on Sunday. Like there were a lot of suggestions and, people mentioning things that would help me feel comfortable. So, yeah, that is something that was very special for me.
I'm wondering if I can be specific because really I totally see the benefits, but really I just invite you to go out and meet people. It's the people. It's all really that I can say is there are so many people here and so many interesting people from all backgrounds who have grown up in really different settings, really different climates, speaking different languages with varying values and beliefs, and that's so interesting. So already in Large Cape Breton, we have a diversity of abilities, and that is interesting. It makes us stronger. But having people as well internationally who are all different from each other can present a challenge, of course, but presents the opportunity for growth. So one of our values here at Large Cape Breton is that we nurture our growth, and we support the growth of other people. So the opportunity of meeting people who are different than us is such an opportunity for growth. So that is what I would say. Yeah.
As much as we say that diversity is beautiful, I think standing out is not usually the best thing, you know. So I think that's one thing I really appreciate, that Lush has people from all over the world, you know, and it's a good feeling. Like it feels like home. There's no other way I would define home, you know, knowing that you're a part of a community with people who are unique, you know, in their giftedness, in their backgrounds, in their culture, in their perception of things, in their religions, and, you know, a lot of things, right? So that's something that I really, really wouldn't trade for anything for this community.
I think the message I have for anyone who is thinking about settling into Cape Breton Unama'ki is to know that this is a wonderful place to live. We invite you to join us here. It's beautiful, the scenery is incredible, the air is fresh, the water is clean, the people are friendly. We are a group of diverse people. There are many cultures within the island that have rich traditions of food and music and celebration. We've got farmers markets and, you know, eat local movements, and yeah, this is a really wonderful place to live, and if you're thinking about raising a family here, it's a great place to raise a family.
It's a tough question because I think I am on the beautiful side of being an immigrant in Cape Breton. So there's always, like, I don't think I've ever gone to one business and found people who are the same, you know. You will always find someone different in, you know, start with Tim Hortons here, you know, go to Farmer's Daughter, you know, every place that I've gone to seek for service, including at the government offices, I always find someone who is, you know, a foreigner, and they seem quite comfortable, they seem quite, you know, a part of the society. And I think that's, maybe it's just to encourage people to continue being who they are, welcoming and kind and open to different and diverse backgrounds.